So this video is a garden progress update from the 1st of January up until the 26th of January. I'm just showing you how the summer garden has been doing so far. I want to start by saying that this garden was planted very late. I only finished planting my summer seeds at the end of November, just before I left for my holiday in Durban. I hadn't been feeling well for a while, and my energy levels were just non existent. But I reached a point where I knew that if I didn't plant anything, I would miss the entire summer growing season. So instead of waiting for the perfect moment or waiting until I thought I felt better, I just planted everything that I had and hoped for the best. In this garden, I planted a wide mix of vegetables and herbs. There's corn growing, there's paprika peppers, there's black beans, there's Christmas lima beans, and red speckled beans. I also planted potatoes and two different varieties of sweet potatoes. I also threw in some sunflower, some yellow pear tomatoes, even though I didn't necessarily plant these. These are just some of the seeds that were left on the ground where there was my yellow pear tomato plant in the previous season. I planted some amaranth, which we call imbuya. I planted some beetroot, some spinach, and of course my comfrey that has been here for a while now. Some comfrey, some sage, and both green and purple basil. I also attempted to plant some butternut squash. Because everything went into the ground so late, not all the plants grew at the same speed. Some of them sprouted quickly and others were slower to get going. But there's no surprises there. That's normal when planting late, especially when soil temperatures and weather patterns are already changing. At this stage, I'm not trying to force anything. I'm just observing, watering, and when needed, I'm letting the green garden do what it can. And what I have over here is this massive Christmas lima bean tree. This was just, I think, about three seeds that I grew here. And at this point, it was really getting big. And it was also entangling itself on the tree next door. But I'm not complaining. I just need to tuck it back into the fence and it should be fine. And of course, the lima beans are pairing nicely with the country at the base. This side, the beans look fairly untouched by whatever was eating them on the other side, and I'm happy with that. And then next to that, it's this bag of potatoes, which seems to be doing just fine, even though a portion of it is completely covered by the comfrey. Now, while we are on this side of the garden, I want to talk about the Three Sisters planting method. This is a companion planting technique where you place your corn, your beans, and your squash and you grow them all together. The corn will grow and provide support for the beans to climb, and then the beans will help to add some nitrogen into the soil, and then the squash will spread all over the ground to help suppress the weeds and keep moisture in the soil. In this bed, I've got corn, I've got beans, I've got butternut squash planted together. The corn is doing well and growing strong, the beans are climbing and wrapping themselves around the corn stalks, but my butternut squash is struggling this year. This is actually the first time I've ever had a squash fail in my garden, Normally, squash grows very easily and it spreads super fast, but this time it just didn't perform the way I expected it. Maybe it's because I planted it late, or it's because it's under pressure from the weeds. Whatever the conditions, sometimes life just happens. The black beans seem to be enjoying their cozy spot right next to the corn, but something has been eating the leaves. However, the plant doesn't look bothered by that, so I won't make a big deal out of it. I'll just leave it like that. Then there's that butternut squash, which hasn't grown as much as I anticipated, but I've accepted that this year is not my squash season, and of course, I'll try again next season. Another thing that I've noticed on this side of the garden, there hasn't been any infestation of powdery mildew, unlike last season. I haven't seen any aphid infestation, so I'm not quite sure what exactly I did right this season. But one thing I've noticed is that I haven't been watering as much as I used to in the previous season. I think that gives the plants an opportunity to completely dry out before I water the next time. So that seems to have been working quite nicely for me. As we walk to the other side, over here, I've got the amaranth. This is my second season growing it. I actually grew up eating the leaves, which my grandparents would cook just the same way that you cook spinach. So this plant, it feels very special to me and I enjoy eating the greens. This year I learned that the seeds are also edible. When the flower heads dry, you can harvest the tiny seeds and use them the same way that you would any grain. You can cook them as porridge, you can toast them, grind them into flour, or even just pop them and add them to any of your favorite dishes. I love that this one plant gives you healthy greens and seeds at the same time, and it's so easy to grow in warm climates with very little to no fuss. Moving on to this thriving potato plant. This one is already flowering. That's because I planted it around October, if not late September, and it's been growing nicely ever since. By now, the corn has formed and there's loads of beans in the pods. Even the squash is flowering. But I'm not sure about the pollination of the squash because I've only been seeing female flowers, and that alone won't help me get any butternut squash harvest. There you see the beans are nicely entangled with the corn and everybody seems to be happy. So I'm happy about that. This butternut squash really has some beautiful green leaves and absolutely no powdery mildew. It looks stunning. I also want to talk about a bit about the Christmas lima beans because this is my first time growing them. Before planting, I learned that they are known for their very large pods and big flat beans. They are often grown as dry beans rather than fresh green beans, and they need a longer growing season compared to other common beans like the black beans that I've grown, and it's my third season this year, I think. They also prefer warm soil and steady summer heat, which made me a bit nervous since I planted it late. But for now, I'm just admiring the size of these pods. When you compare them with the black beans growing right next to them, the difference is very noticeable. The lima bean pods are much bigger and thicker and fuller, and they really stand out in the garden. These beans are usually ready in about 90 to 110 days, so I'm planning on harvesting these around day 120. Since mine went in late, I expect them to take a bit longer, but I'm fine with that. This season is more about learning so that I'm ready next summer season. As I cross over, there's those sunflowers that I'm growing again this year, and these ones have never disappointed me. One of the biggest things that happened in January was a serious weed takeover. The main weed you'll see here, it's the Galinsoga. It's commonly known as a gallant soldier or a shaggy soldier or potato weed. This weed grows very aggressively, especially in summer. Once it appears, it quickly goes into seed and then it spreads very fast. I did some research about this particular weed and I found out that it's actually an edible plant with medicinal uses. Some people use it for treating bug bites, and others say that it can help with high blood pressure. Personally, I've never eaten it before, and at the moment, I'm not in a condition to experiment with new edible weeds. So, for me, in this garden, it's simply a weed that needs to be pulled out. You'll see me removing it regularly because if you don't stay on top of it, it quickly competes with your vegetables for nutrients, water, and sunlight. This is one of those weeds that teaches you the importance of early and consistent weeding. This big patch over here that has most of this weed, I had planted a lot of spinach seeds, but as you can see, none of them sprouted. Instead, it's just weed all over. I also have regular potatoes growing in the garden, and at this stage, they were not ready yet. If you're interested in learning how to tell when potatoes are ready, I made a full video explaining the signs to look for, and I'll link it right here for you to watch. Moving over to the sweet potatoes, these won't be ready for harvest for another 8 to 12 weeks from this point. I'm growing two varieties, one with a yellow skin and yellow flesh, and another one with red skin and white flesh. I'm not quite sure what the exact names of the cultivars are because I also got some sprouted sweet potatoes from a friend of mine. Sweet potatoes, they really need time underground, and most of the progress happens when you can't see it. Overall, this garden isn't perfect, and that's okay. It was planted late and it has experienced a lot of weeds, and not every crop performed the way that I expected, but nonetheless, the garden is growing, and that's what matters. This season has been a reminder that doing something late is still better than not doing it at all. Plants grow when they can, and gardens have a way of meeting you where you are. Thank you so much for spending the time with me in the garden and watching this summer progress updates. As always, happy gardening to you.